Hi, this is Molly O'Malley, and this is my IMP2 exam number 1. Okay. First question is, explain the process of pre-production. Pre-production is what you do. It's your first part of the 3 parts of Zettel's theory. Pre-production goes on to the important parts of it, which is project proposal, premise, synopsis, treatments, scripts, script breakdowns, production schedules, budgets, and storyboards. Project proposal is the summary you use to promote or sell a project. Basically, it's the what of your pre-production, what your project will be, what your subject material will be, what you're doing everything on. And then next you have the premise, which is a concise statement or assertion that sums up the story or subject matter. Basically your why, your purpose, the reason you're doing this, and the conclusion you should have in the end. And then you have your synopsis, which is a short story that describes the basic storyline, which is your theme. And your synopsis should walk your audience through the story, and it should walk you through the what. And then next you have your treatments, which is a detailed summary of the plot, characters, scenes, specifically like where you're doing it, what's going on in the scene, and how you're planning on capturing the material, like cameras, how, and then pay attention to visual and audio references. And then you have your synopsis, which is a short paragraph or summary that describes your basic storyline, your theme, walk your audience through the story, walks you through the what, which is very broad. And then you have your script, which is your complete production guides on paper, and specifying what you'll be seeing or hearing. And then script breakdowns. Script breakdowns include listing equipment and the personnel needed for each scene for your production. And then your production schedule is very important because it's a timeline of what's going on day and night, every time, like any time of the day, for every phase, including production and post-production. And then you have your storyboard, which is a graphic visualization of important shots, your story outline, your shot list, and other things like that. And then you have your budget, which is important because it's how funds for your whole thing will be spent in each category that were mentioned prior. And the person who usually handles all the money is the executive producer. And then that leads us into why is pre-production needed. And it's needed for planning so that your steps of production and post-production can go swimmingly. Because if your pre-production is crap, the rest of your product will be crap. But if you have everything organized and take a lot of time and effort and put it into it, then it should turn out okay. And then D, how does pre-production relate to other stages of production? Pre-production is basically laying the groundwork for your production and your post-production. So if you didn't have your pre-production, there would be no production or post-production, well, at least in a good work. So that's how they're related, because you can't really have a good work without the others. And the process of post-production would include digitizing your material and what you're going to edit on, how you're going to edit it, the effects you're going to use, and your outputting source, like where you're going to put it out and how you're going to get people to see your media and how you're going to draw attention to it. And F, explain the 2 types of analytical montages and give examples. For analytical montages, you analyze an event for its thematic and structural elements. Select their essential elements and synthesize them into an intensified screen event. And the 2 types are sequential analytical and sectional analytical. And sequential analytical would be condensing an event into its key developmental elements and presenting them in their original cause and effect sequence, just the natural progression of things. And if done right, it should tell a story in a short fashion, moving the event through time. And a good example of that would be the episode of South Park where they go to Aspen and it's making a mockery of that 80s movie, and they have the montage scene where they have the song called Montage. And then the second analytical montage is a sectional analytical, which temporarily stops the progression of an event and examines an isolated movement forms from several viewpoints. And it also examines significant sections or specific moments pertaining to the character or whatever is going on. And it can intensify the emotions going on and how well everything's being understood and perceived by the audience. And a good example of that would be, at least in my opinion, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, because the whole movie is just different montages from their different points of views. And then you have the second kind of, or letter G, explain idea associative montages and examples. And the idea associative montages are montages that juxtapose two seemingly dissociated events to create a third principal idea or concept. And then the two kinds are comparison and collision montages. And comparison consists of succeeding shots that juxtapose two thematically related events to express or reinforce a theme or basic idea. And comparison montages generally compare similar themes from dissimilar events. A good example of that would be like a lot of commercials and ads will show like two different cars and they'll be trying to compare them and they'll make that their commercial. And then the second kind would be a collision montage, which clashes two different events to express or reinforce a basic idea or feeling, and they combine different images to generate a whole new idea at the end, which is like the third principle. And for me, my example I thought of was the end of High School Musical 1, whenever Troy's having the basketball thing, and then Gabriella has the mathlete thing, and then it comes together at the end because they're showing the lapse time events, comparing what's going on, their hard work, and at the end they all go to the audition. Okay, so that is my exam for IMP2.